The clock struck midnight, casting a quiet hush over the dimly lit corridors of the medical center. The usual shuffle of hurried footsteps and the beeping of monitors had settled into the rhythmic breathing of sleeping patients. Clara, a young nurse in her late 20s, made her usual rounds, checking IVs and adjusting blankets for those in her care. It wasn't until she approached the large glass doors at the hospital's entrance that she noticed them. A small group of hounds stood just beyond the light, spilling onto the pavement. Their eyes, glimmering in the moonlight, were fixed on the building, their posture neither aggressive nor timid, just waiting. Clara had seen them before. She had noticed them a few nights earlier, but assumed they were strays looking for food. Tonight, however, their unwavering presence gnawed at her curiosity. Why were they here? And why did they always show up when the world had quieted down? A fellow nurse, Jacob, had mentioned the animals the previous night. "I swear, they come back every single evening," he had said, like clockwork. Determined to solve the mystery, Clara stepped outside. The moment she did, the creatures perked up but did not approach. Instead, they sat, their tails swishing against the cold pavement. She crouched down, offering her hand in a gesture of goodwill. One of them, a tawny-colored mutt with a scar over one eye, took a hesitant step forward, sniffed her fingers, then retreated. The others remained still, watching. Clara returned inside, grabbed a few leftover sandwiches from the staff fridge and brought them out. One by one, the creatures ate, their eyes never leaving her face. She noticed that each had a collar, though some were tattered and worn. They weren't strays. They belonged to someone. The question was, who? The next evening, the group returned. Clara was waiting. This time she brought water along with food. As they ate, she observed them more closely. They weren't wild. Their behavior suggested familiarity with humans. It dawned on her that they weren't just waiting for food. They were waiting for something. Or someone. Driven by this realization, Clara turned to the patient records. She combed through recent admissions, looking for any connection. Then, she found him. Ilhar is an elderly man named Ernesto Silva. He had been admitted weeks ago following a severe respiratory infection. According to his file, he had been homeless for years, surviving on the streets with a group of loyal companions. Her heart clenched. The dogs weren't strays, they were his family. The next day she checked on Ernesto. He was frail, his once strong body reduced by illness. His breath was labored, his skin pale. She hesitated, then gently asked, "Ernesto, did you have any animals with you before you came here?" His tired eyes flickered open with a hint of recognition. He gave a slow nod. "My boys," he murmured. "Are they safe?" Tears pricked her eyes. "They're here," she whispered. "They wait for you every night." A soft smile graced his lips, and for the first time in days, something beyond exhaustion shone in his gaze. Hope. That evening, Clara made a decision. After her shift, she went outside to where the canines sat. She knelt and whispered, "Come with me." Slowly, they followed her through the side entrance, past the sleeping halls, until they reached a quiet corner of the hospital where Ernesto rested. She opened the door just enough for them to see. The moment they spotted him, their ears perked up. A low whimper came from the scarred one, followed by another from a smaller, white-furred companion. Ernesto stirred, his eyes fluttering open. When he saw them, silent tears rolled down his cheeks. "My boys," he rasped, his frail fingers stretching out toward them. Clara could barely contain her emotions. She knew the rules. Animals weren't allowed in patient rooms. But this was different. This was love. This was devotion. She stepped back and let them in. The creatures didn't jump on the bed or make noise. They simply sat beside him, pressing their warm bodies close, resting their heads near his hands. A peaceful calm settled over the room. The next morning, Ernesto passed away. He was not alone. Clara expected the group to disappear after his passing, but they remained for weeks. They came back, sitting by the doors at night, waiting. It was as if they believed he would return. Then, one evening, they were gone. Clara never saw them again, but deep in her heart, she knew the truth. They had waited as long as they could, and when they understood he was never coming back, they moved on, together. She would never forget them, the silent sentinels of love and loyalty, who waited for a man the world had forgotten, but they never did.